Have you ever gotten lost and pulled out your phone to look at a map? It feels so simple, right? A few taps and boom, you know exactly where you are and how to get where you're going. But have you ever stopped to think about the incredible journey that led to this tiny, glowing map in your hand? It's a story thousands of years in the making, a story of adventure, science, and our relentless human desire to understand the world around us. So let's rewind the clock and explore the amazing history of maps. Our story begins way back, long before paper or even writing existed. Imagine ancient humans trekking across vast landscapes. How did they remember the way back to a good hunting spot or a safe cave? They used what they had. They might have scratched lines in the dirt, arranged pebbles to represent hills, or carved patterns onto pieces of bone or mammoth tusks. These weren't maps as we know them, but they were the very first sparks of cartography, using symbols to represent a physical space. One of the oldest potential maps ever discovered is a carving on a mammoth tusk found in the Czech Republic, dating back a mind-boggling 25,000 years. It shows hills, a river, and clay huts, a snapshot of a prehistoric settlement. Fast forward to ancient civilizations. The Babylonians were some of the first serious map makers. Around 600 BC, they created a clay tablet that is now considered the oldest surviving world map. It's a fascinating piece. It shows Babylon at the center, of course, surrounded by a circular landmass with other cities and a big ocean encircling everything. It's not geographically accurate by our standards, but it tells us so much about how they saw their world, with their own city, as the absolute center of the universe. It was less about precise navigation and more about making a statement about their place in the cosmos. Then came the ancient Greeks, who really kicked things into high gear. They were obsessed with logic, mathematics, and understanding the natural world. Thinkers like Anaximander are credited with creating one of the first scaled maps of the known world. But the real game changer was Claudius Ptolemy in the 2nd century AD. Ptolemy was a genius. He wrote a book called Geographia that was basically a manual on how to make a map. He was the first to use lines of latitude and longitude, a system we still use today. He gathered information from travelers and sailors and tried to plot thousands of locations. His maps weren't perfect. He famously underestimated the size of the Earth. A mistake that would later encourage Christopher Columbus to sail west, but his methods laid the foundation for all of Western cartography for over 1,000 years. After the fall of Rome, Europe entered the Middle Ages, and map-making took a bit of a detour. The focus shifted from scientific accuracy to religious symbolism. Maps from this period, known as mappae mundi, are beautiful works of art, but they're not very useful for getting around. They often placed Jerusalem at the center of the world, with Asia at the top, and were filled with illustrations of biblical stories and mythical creatures. They were more like theological diagrams than navigational tools. Famous Hereford mappae mundi, for instance, is a stunning example, packed with details about Christian doctrine and fantastical beasts. It was meant to teach faith, not geography. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, map-making was thriving. In the Islamic world, scholars preserved and built upon the works of Ptolemy. Geographers like Al-Idrisi, working for King Roger II of Sicily in the 12th century, created incredibly detailed and accurate maps. His Tabula Rogeriana was the most advanced world map of its time, combining information from explorers and merchants to create a remarkably comprehensive view of the known world. Over in China, map-making had its own rich history, with a strong emphasis on administrative and practical uses. Chinese cartographers developed the grid system independently and produced highly detailed and accurate maps of their territories long before similar techniques were common in Europe. Everything changed again with the age of exploration in the 15th and 16th centuries. Suddenly, knowing the precise layout of the world wasn't just an academic exercise, it was a matter of national power, wealth, and survival. Explorers like Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Magellan were sailing into uncharted waters. Their voyages brought back a flood of new information, and maps had to be constantly updated. The world was literally getting bigger on paper. This is when the famous Mercator projection was invented in 1569 by Gerardus Mercator. You've definitely seen it. It's the rectangular map where Greenland looks massive. It wasn't designed to show the correct size of land masses, but to help sailors navigate. A straight line on a Mercator map is a line of constant compass bearing, which was revolutionary for seafaring. It sacrificed accurate size for practical navigation. The 18th and 19th centuries became the age of scientific cartography. With inventions like the chronometer, sailors could finally determine their longitude accurately. Nations began to conduct massive, systematic land surveys to create detailed and precise maps of their territories. Think of the Great Ordnance Survey in Britain or the Cassini maps in France. Maps became tools of government, used for taxation, military planning, and building infrastructure like roads and railways. They were no longer just about exploring the unknown, but about controlling and managing the known. Then, the 20th century brought another revolution: the view from above. First came aerial photography from airplanes, which gave mapmakers a bird's-eye perspective of the landscape for the first time. This allowed for an unprecedented level of detail and accuracy. And then, the space race gave us satellites. From orbit, we could see the Earth as a whole, a beautiful blue marble. This perspective not only fueled environmental movements, but also gave birth to technologies that would change our daily lives forever. Which brings us right back to that map on your phone. The Global Positioning System, or GPS, is a network of satellites orbiting the Earth, constantly beaming down signals. Your phone picks up these signals from multiple satellites, calculates your distance from each one, and pinpoints your exact location with incredible accuracy. This technology, combined with decades of digital mapmaking by companies like Google and Apple, has put a dynamic, interactive, and constantly updated map of the entire world in your pocket. You can see real-time traffic, look up restaurant reviews, and even explore a 3D model of a city on the other side of the globe, all from the palm of our hand. From carvings on a mammoth tusk to a live satellite view, the history of the map is the history of us. It reflects our changing views of the world, our scientific advancements, our political ambitions, and our deep, innate curiosity. Each map is a snapshot of its time, a story of how people saw themselves and their place in the universe. So next time you open a map app, take a second to appreciate the thousands of years of exploration, innovation, and human ingenuity that made it possible. Thanks for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the stories behind our world. See you next time.